enhance your flexibility, increase your strength, relieve your tension, improve your productivity. It can handle 800 pounds of resistance. Okay, I'm a don't knock it till you try it type person. So this is the IsoBow from Bullworker. I like this product because if you guys know anything about me, I like things that are simple. If I don't have to solve the quadratic equation to use a piece of equipment, I'm all for it. And it's about as simple as you get. What really shocked me though is the amount of exercise that we can perform with this. There's well over 30 different exercises that we can perform with this IsoBow, and it kind of follows the same flow as, get it, bow flow, as the Bullworker, where there are some obscure exercises you wouldn't really think to use at first, but then there are the ones that are like, okay, that makes sense. For example, remember the Bullworker bicep curl? Same thing. Switch to the other side, same thing. Favorite exercise on this is the lateral post delt pull. So just this, it's the Alexander's ass breaking out of the prison cell move. So keep doing this and eventually you'll break out of prison cells as well. By the way, I mentioned the Bullworker earlier. If you haven't seen our review on the isometric tool called the Bullworker, which is a piece of exercise equipment that Bruce Lee used to use back in the day along with his old iso chain. Here's a link right here. Go ahead and check that out. And also, just as with the Bullworker review video, there is a channel called Machismo, really awesome dude, and his whole channel is about the Bullworker, just like how ours is primarily about the Isomax for now, as we start to delve into more generalized isometric exercises. He has everything related to Bullworker. I'm not sure if he covered the IsoBow. I didn't see anything, but it's possible I missed over it. So if you haven't seen his channel, check out his channel. Great stuff. I'm really enthusiastic about the Bullworker. So right away, I talked about it before, the ease of use. Anything with ease of use, if it's easy to use, I'm all for it. Sign me up. One of the reasons why I like the iso chain, literally just set the exercise up. The booklet came with all the exercises you could perform. Just pull with good form, of course. Same thing here. Now, of course, there's no measurability with this one, so it does take a hit there. Remember our video on the 4 loading reflexes? I talk about what makes a isometric product really good, if not great. Having some way to measure your progress is so important. I can't stress that enough. If you haven't seen that video, here's the link right here. Go ahead and check that one out. That said, it's not to say that loadless isometric exercises don't work. They very clearly do, because there was a time where we didn't have all this tech. And so you had stuff like this where it's just, all right, just keep on doing it. Let repetition do its thing and let progressive overload do its thing. In which case, all we really had was increased time under tension. Speaking of which, let's talk about progression. What do we have here? The Bullworker had the telescopic pipe with the numbers on it, okay? That's out. So how exactly do we progress with this? It's the same way that Bruce Lee progressed with his iso chain. The only way is to decrease rest time between sets or increase duration. You're pulling as hard as you can no matter what, so you're going to get the strength gains required, but outside of that, there's really only 2 other metrics that you can manipulate to your advantage, and that's rest time and duration. If you somehow are able to know if you're pulling at 60 to 80%, you could dabble a little bit with isometric hypertrophy. I would say it's not impossible, but it would be incredibly difficult without actually seeing what the force readout is in real time, which is why the Bullworker is good and why the iso chain and isomax are good. Or if you have a setup with a crane scale, that's good as well. Remember, if we can, the more we can track, the better off we can progress ourselves and take this training really seriously. There's a page in a booklet that comes with it, which I'll show in a second, that talks about grip variation to lengthen or shorten. So it looks simply like this, and then we'd roll it towards the grip, and now it's shortened. It really depends on what exercise we're performing with the IsoBow. I can't think of any offhand, but I'm sure there are some that would really benefit from switching up the grip. When you purchase your IsoBow, if you haven't already, it comes with 2 of these. I really like this product so much, I have those tools at the gym where I work so that I can have access to all my isometrics products. The ISO Chain, the IsoMax, the Bullworker, and the IsoBow. Those are my big 4 so far. Now, I mentioned the booklet. This came with my IsoBow. Now, when I purchased my Bullworker, I purchased the combo pack. So it came with my Bullworker and 2 IsoBows along with the Bullworker booklet, which I mentioned in my Bullworker review video that I lost. It's in there somewhere. But it also came with the IsoBow booklet. And again, I'm really surprised at just how much they were able to put in here. There are strength training programs in here that are laid out, like literally 8-week programs here. And what I really like about Bullworker is they are knowledgeable on time under tension, how to progress with isometrics. These guys really know their stuff. I'm reading right here, it says optimum Bullworker isometric holds only require 60 to 80% of maximum effort for 7 to 10 seconds though. Now, they were almost on the mark, but we know that if we are in the 7 to 10 second range, we're in the strength range. So we are trying to hold for 100% of our maximum effort. And if we are in the 60 to 80%, that's hypertrophy, and then we want to hold for time instead, which again, we can perform hypertrophy lifts with this, but it's kind of hard to gauge mentally what 60 to 80% is without some type of feedback telling you. Not impossible, but difficult. They also recommend waiting 48 hours before starting your next heavy isometric session. Another thing that we talk about. If you haven't seen our video on how long should we rest between isometric sessions, here's a link right here. Definitely go check that out. Now, one thing that we really don't talk about on the channel much is what Bullworker calls in this book iso motion. So they recommend training the way that we know how with isometric, which is the 100% maximum contraction for 6 seconds and anywhere between 6 to 12 seconds. But they also mentioned iso motion. All that really is performing the movement while holding the isometric contraction. So for example, the bicep curl with their definition of iso motion would be this. So going through the range of motion while holding the isometric contraction. Do I see the uses of that? Yes, but I would say it'd be really specific based off of what that person will be training for. All in all, a really simple product. There's no need to go for 15 minutes filling the video up with fluff. It's a strap with handles, but we can do a lot with a simple strap with handles depending on how we program our strength training and whether we take it seriously or not. As I mentioned, there's a ton of different isometric exercises that we can perform with this little thing, but you can see right here as I'm talking, and it's really surprising just how deep Bullworker got in their own bag for the amount of exercise that we can perform with this thing. But what are your thoughts? Go ahead and comment down below what you think about the IsoBow. If you haven't seen our review on the Bullworker, check it out on our playlist here, and we will see you there.